Hey peeps, it was around this time last year that we were talking about red lipstick and Glamour Magic together. And in honor of the 1-year anniversary of this, and because this is a time of year when I'm just very naturally drawn to watching old movies and film noir aesthetic and 1930s and 1940s makeup and hairstyling, I thought it would be a wonderful way to kind of honor the full circle year-long journey with another installment in the Glamour Magic series. So much of the experience of Glamour Magic itself is about working with, manipulating, if you will, the energy around us to kind of line up with an experience of reverence, beauty, and delight. Glamour Magic allows us to feel more empowered, sexy, beautiful, confident, and to be able to move about our world in such a way. And as I was reflecting on this over the last few weeks, kind of distilling what it means when we are walking either a pagan path or a path as a witch, or someone who is working with goddesses and the energy of the sacred feminine in our journey. We are dancing with this beautiful energy that is the sacred feminine. And we want to not only see that in our world, but feel it reflected within us. From that space, we might choose to work magic that allows our beauty to be more powerfully experienced or more easily experienced. We might choose to work magic that allows us to feel more beautiful and or empowered in our unique beauty in our path. But I think what Glamour Magic and a path that is lived in honor and reverence of the sacred feminine really comes down to is a shamanic teaching that was passed on to me, which is called Walking in Beauty. And I've talked about this on the channel in the past. It's really a state of mind that you enter into and that you choose to move through your world and live your days with. And that is finding the beauty, the aliveness, the worthiness within all things that you come into contact with. This allows you to hold a space of reverence and trust in your path, even when things happen that feel scary or difficult or uncertain, because you can find the beauty of the experience as a whole, even if it's only in the lesson that you are learning, even though it may be uncomfortable or painful. And this also led me to think about some of my earliest memories in life, which are of my mother's art studio before my family joined the cult that I grew up in, the religious cult that I grew up in from 5 years old forward. I have some very powerful memories of my mother's studio. My mother had her bachelor's in fine arts from Rhode Island School of Design, and she was a sculptor and an oil painter, and that was her job. It wasn't a hobby of hers, that was her career prior to my family joining the religion that they did when I was little. But I have very clear memories of her art studio, and it's part of why my home is always covered in prints and various things that inspire me. When my mother was working on a specific project that she had been commissioned to create, I recall very clearly I recall very clearly the inspiration that she would begin covering her walls with tacks. You know, she'd pull other artists' artwork from various books that she wasn't copying them, but that would inspire where she was at, or specific colors or fabrics. And she would pin or tack these things on the wall. And so there would be various projects going on with these kind of inspiration boards on the wall. And there might be an area where she was working on silkscreen printing in one corner of the garage studio. And then there would be another area where her clay forms were for her studies and her sculpture work. And then there would be large pieces of marble to the front of the studio, which would be the eventual sculptures that she would be carving. And there was a magic to this space, but also a magic that I was able to witness in her process, her artistic process, which then for me later on, learning about walking in beauty from my shamanic teachers, I saw the reflection of that in the way in which my mother would go about her creative process, where she would be enveloped by the project, finding her way into experiencing passion and expansion around it. And then she would set about creating what she was visualizing in her mind. But all of these other pieces would be assembled around her that would allow her to really step into the work. And as I was reflecting about Glamour Magick the last few weeks, knowing that I wanted to make this video, and also reflecting on this last year for me, which was very difficult personally, I realized that the presence in the moment that allows us to move through even difficult times comes from being able to appreciate the beauty in the moment, which is very much the artist's path. To find the beauty, the inspiration from everyday things, and to cultivate appreciation and respect and presence with those things. And so when I think of Glamour Magick as a whole, while it is very much the power of a beautiful red lipstick, this is the lipstick I'm wearing today. It's Besame's Red Hot Red, for those of you who would like to know. I think the deeper level of Glamour Magick comes in that ability to find beauty in the everyday moments, which then allows us to begin to find that beauty in ourselves and express it through our own aesthetic and style, and how we want to embody the sacred feminine in our everyday life. Embodying the sacred feminine isn't something that we touch every once in a while when we go out on a date. Embodying the feminine can be something that we experience on a personal daily level. And so for me, it's very much been about embracing that focus of finding the thing that I can feel a sense of passion, of reverence, of awe, and of beauty towards, surrounding myself with that energy and feeling it begin to permeate and percolate within my own being, and then express that in my physicality. I think the kids these days call it romanticizing your life. It's very possible to do it. It doesn't cost any money, and it is a powerful flipping of the script in how many of us feel in our lives, because you're no longer running a rat race, trying to catch up with somebody else, or feeling like you need to try that new thing that everyone else is purchasing because maybe it might fill the void inside of your heart and soul. Instead, you're allowing the appreciation and the awe and reverence for your experience right now to fill your being with a sense of appreciation, of joy, and of beauty. And from that space, you can start to shift the way in which you move through the world and how you talk about and towards yourself, so that it is not so much doing things because you're supposed to. Instead, it becomes more doing things and moving through your world, finding the beauty of those moments and feeling connected to that moment, present to that moment. What inspires each and every one of us is individual and unique to each and every one of us. And yet we can also find beauty in all of our experiences. And when we can find the beauty in the everyday, and we can find the beauty and the inspiration within ourselves, again, we can release a harshness to life, a harshness towards ourselves, where we can feel more fulfilled in our experience as well. An example of this, which seems minute, but was actually in my personal life, it represented a big change in my own sense of embodying the sacred feminine, but also feeling empowered in my sense of self, came when I was 33. And instead of buying beautiful lacy lingerie to wear in front of a partner, I started purchasing it for myself, to wear for myself, because it allowed me to feel beautiful throughout the day, not just in the morning or the evening, but throughout the entire day. And there was something about feeling the texture of lace or velvet for me, because I'm a very tactile person, that allowed me to feel connected to the sacred feminine in a really beautiful Babylon, Lilith, or Venus lusty way. And so much about my own life is about embracing the lustiness of sensuality and living that without a sense of guilt or shame. And so that little subtle shift of wearing something lacy and beautiful underneath the outside clothing, just for me, really started to shift something in me, feeling more of myself in my body. And this reflected in other ways, because then I began to be a bit kinder towards myself in my self-talk. And I started to eat in a way that was more supportive of my body. And it allowed me to be, I'm not saying wearing the lingerie allowed this, but at that time, I was also allowing myself to be a little more present to finding the beauty in the moments, to feeling that sense of reverence. And sometimes it takes just the subtlest shift like that when it comes to walking a path in alignment with the sacred feminine and experiencing glamour magic that really allows you to romanticize your life. And from that space, there's so much potent, fertile, magical, creative energy that you can dance with. Another key component for me, which I've done my entire life, which does stem from my childhood, is have a daily card pull and journaling practice that is married to my own makeup routine and my own routine in the morning. So I wake up about 2 hours before I need to typically, and I really take that time for myself to light a candle, to pull my daily cards, to journal, to talk to the goddess I feel connected to at that point in time, to have a beautiful cup of tea that I don't rush myself through, but that I instead sit and savor while I journal. And then I take that cup of tea and I move into my powder room, if you will, and I decide the colors that I want to wear to invoke a certain energy or experience or feeling that day. And that will go into what I choose to wear for clothing, what I choose to wear for makeup. I visualize and feel into the story that I want to live and that I want to tell for that day. And it makes a huge difference in being able to move through my day conscious and present, tapped into my deity, my spiritual path, but also tapped into the beauty of feeling, beginning to feel like, in a lot of ways, the main character in my own story, which is something I've really struggled with in my personal life, to not put everyone else's needs ahead of my own, which I'm sure many of you can resonate with as well, to such an extent that you lose who you are and you don't even know how to find yourself anymore. Deity that I would recommend working with around this would be Persephone, Venus, Babylon, Lilith. Also, Santa Muerta can be very helpful here as well. These faces of deity can help us open up to these parts of ourselves that we may feel we've lost or that we've never even allowed to breathe within us. So I do think that a daily practice is an essential way to, or at least for me has been an essential way to stay tapped into walking in beauty, being able to be present, and also being able to feel connected to the sacred feminine in my daily life. Now, I know it's not accessible for everyone to get up 2 hours before they need to in the morning, but I also go to bed a lot earlier than most people do. And this enables me to have that routine to myself because my son gets up very early as well. And so if I'm able to be up before him, I can have that quiet time. And so I sacrifice staying up late at night so that I can have those 2 hours or hour and a half in the morning to myself with my gods and with my glamour magic as well. So these were some thoughts that I had about the artist's path, walking in beauty, daily practice, and allowing yourself to do something for yourself that is purely for the joy of the sensual experience. Now, I shared the example of wearing beautiful lacy lingerie for myself. There may be something for you though. It might be trying a red lipstick or wearing that favorite color that not everybody else wears all the time. Maybe it's dressing a certain way or purchasing a perfume or scent that really lets you feel sensual and sexy. And it doesn't even have to involve purchasing something. It could be that gift of giving yourself 20 minutes a day to sit with a cup of coffee or tea in the morning and just reflect and be, instead of rolling out of bed, rushing out the door, and feeling discombobulated and stressed as you move chaotically through your day. By the time you get home in the evening, you're absolutely exhausted and it's impossible to do anything else but fall asleep in front of the TV or with your phone in your hand. That is not a way to live that feels fulfilling, at least not every day. And so my hope is that with the Glamour Magick series, not only are we getting more connected to the sacred feminine and adorning ourselves in beauty, just like Venus would have us do, but also that you're feeling a sense of presence in your own path, because that makes life worth living. And if there is one thing that I learned from my childhood observing a very, very gifted artist at work, there is nothing like dancing with the passion of inspiration and letting it take you over to create a work of art. Now, that work of art could be an oil painting, a sculpture. It could also be you, because you, my dear, are a work of art. So if this subject matter intrigues you, I wrote down a few journal prompts that you might want to sit with. I will include those in the comment section, the description box down below. Please feel free to share how you are feeling about all this in the comment section down below. But the journal prompts will be posted in the description box down below. And these prompts are as follows. What is a daily practice that allows you to feel most yourself? How can you make time for that? What do you find beautiful? And then your final journal prompt. How can you recognize beauty as much as possible as you move through your day? And remember that finding that beauty can be as simple as how mesmerizingly leaves blow across the skyline with the wind. It can be found in the way in which mushrooms grow up out of the earth, or your favorite plant blossoming in the sunlight in your kitchen window. It doesn't have to be something extravagant. The real beauty is found in those little moments of reverence where we stop and catch our breath and where we feel really profoundly connected to the divine, to source, to the infinite, or as I like to say, to Sophia, to the void. So I hope this video is inspiring if you are trying to embrace a path of glamour magic, a path of beauty, and a path of witchcraft that is lived, not only read about. I am sending you, as always, oceans of love, and I will, of course, see you in the next video. Take care.